When you're arguing with somebody, it's really hard not to interrupt, and I do understand that, right? It's like, you know, they say something and then it spikes something in you that you want to say, and you say it and you cut them off. But usually that just perpetuates the argument and then sometimes gets you to an impasse. Because the reason you're having the argument in the first place is because you both want to be heard, right? You want the other person to understand your feelings. So if you find yourself really frustrated because frequently you get into an argument with somebody because you didn't get to finish your sentence. So you're trying to communicate your thought, and then they interrupt you and they start interrupting, and you're going like, but I didn't get my thought across. And then you start raising your voice trying to talk over them so that they can hear you. And honestly, that's how most arguments get started. So I know it's easier said than done, but if you can make a peace treaty with each other, that when you're really upset about something and you're trying to communicate your feelings, that you'll take turns getting your point across, right? Maybe you actually say, I will let you know when I'm done my point. Please don't speak until I'm done. And you can get your whole point across, because most arguments are based on a miscommunication where one person is feeling one way about something that may not even be the truth. It might not be what the other person feels, but they're not listening to that person to give them an opportunity to tell them how that feels, how they feel. Because you're too much in your own head trying to get across what you want to say, and you're missing the whole point, which is trying to help your relationship. You really need to make your prime intention to hear what your partner is trying to say to you. Because miscommunication is what causes most problems in relationships. Talk about it if you can and say, whoa, let's push the pause button for a second here. Let's set some ground rules that we're not going to interrupt each other. I want to hear you and I want you to hear me. So let's not interrupt each other, because it's the very act of interrupting that usually escalates it to arguing and yelling, because the person who was initially speaking wants to get their point across, and then they start trying to talk louder and over top of you, and then sometimes they get really frustrated, and then depending on the person, sometimes that's how things get thrown, or they walk out, they storm out, they just get so frustrated, right? So it's essential that if you're in an argument with somebody that you love, that you don't interrupt them, and you let them finish their point, and then you ask the same thing of them. Say, okay, I'm going to let you finish your point. Let me know when you're done, and then I'd like you to give me the same respect. We all have habits, and the habit you have of interrupting can be changed if you really start to focus your attention on it. Try not to interrupt. Make your intention about finding out what your partner has to say rather than about what you're trying to say. And I think you'll find that you have happier relationships and most definitely better communication. Give them the respect of not interrupting them, and I promise you, it'll shorten the argument, and it may even increase the emotional intimacy in your relationship, because everybody just wants to be heard. Everybody wants the other person to understand what they're feeling and what they're going through. And especially if you're really angry at somebody, make sure that what you're feeling is accurate. And you don't know that unless you fully listen to what your partner is trying to say to you without interrupting. I'm Donna Barnes. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my videos if you found them helpful. And if you need personalized help, I am available for private coaching.